Welcome into a Friday edition of the live Locked On Lions squad show. Jake Riepma, Natalie Kerwin, Bradford Banta, ready to get you to your weekend with a little combine discussion, a little NFL report card, Nat.
Okay, well, expect the unexpected. This might be our first Friday episode we've ever done. So check that
History.
off the list. That is the squad show for you. Bradford?
Hey, you know what? In the NFL, you don't just draft talent, you draft insurance. And right now, the Lions better be reading the fine print.
One pride. It's the Lions Squad. Everything Detroit Lions every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Motor City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the roar of the Lions to the next great chapter, the Lions Squad Show starts now.
And here we go. We promised an early Friday morning start. Thanks for dialing it up and joining the live show. Jake Riepma, Natalie Kerwin, Bradford Banta with you on the #1 sports podcast platform, the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Get your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And sometimes, guys, we might know what we're doing. We backloaded the week with a couple of shows because we thought maybe it'll be Thursday night, 7:00, and some big time news will break and we'll be able to do a show early Friday morning. So, and unfortunately, it's not the best news. So we'll discuss the Terrion Arnold latest, and then shout out to Bradford Banta. Big time get for us. Rhett Lewis of NFL Network is going to join the program. And then we'll talk about that team report card and finally get to the Lions playing in Germany. But the news keeps on breaking, and a lot of times this time of year, that's not exactly what you're looking for. Bradford Banta, I'll go to you. Nat, I know we all have thoughts on what we read in the Detroit news late last night from our guy, Nolan Bianchi.
I know. Oh, well, did you want me or Bradford to go?
No, please go, Nat. Get after it.
I mean, yeah, you don't want your name thrown around this kind of year for, at this point of the year for that reason. And I thought, based on what we read, a week ago, that he wasn't involved, and then now it sounds like he's involved. I mean, come on. I feel like we were just talking yesterday a little bit, or we didn't even get to the Terrion Arnold stuff actually with Kelvin Shepherd. So it's like, right, with someone like him, such high expectations coming into this season as far as a bounce back year, right? The injuries that he had to deal with last year and everything on top of it. And then you see that kind of thing in the news involved with one of your players. Doesn't matter who they are. It's not the kind of PR that you want for your squad. So I'm the more that comes out about this, and there could be more details that come beyond it, but disappointing. It's not a good look around your team. And I know we haven't dove into all the details on the case yet. I don't have everything. Do you have everything written out, Jake, to explain to people?
A little bit of the
From
latest
Nolan's article.
Yeah, yes. But I thought I want to get everybody's initial and then reaction, and then we'll dive right into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I tell you, these are the calls as a coach, as a front office personnel that you don't want to get. And this is what I was talking about earlier. I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago, is just keeping your team out of the headlines during the off season. You want your off season to just be quiet. And up until this point, the Detroit Lions have been doing a pretty doggone good job of staying out of the headlines. But this situation has definitely brought them to the forefront with the Terrion Arnold situation and the allegations that he is being accused of. So, I mean, from my understanding right now, he has not been charged with a crime, but his name has been mentioned. And Jake, I think you're going to kind of give us a sketch.
Yeah, so I think to catch everybody up, and again, great work from on the reporting side by Nolan Bianchi. Want to give him his proper credit because he was the first on this and been all over it. But to kind of summarize, so we know what we know. Terrion Arnold was the victim of a robbery from his from an Airbnb in Florida. Thieves reportedly took 100,000 in cash, jewelry, guns. That we knew. The part that was the latest development was that the court has alleged that after filing the police report, the somebody associated with Terrion Arnold, who's Bioki Hilton, considered a big plot and kidnapping scheme to hold hostage and rob the people they believed were responsible for the original crime. And Arnold was involved in the scheming and the plan to come up with this kidnapping and to hold these people that robbed him hostage. So the court order from the Detroit News stated that the armed robbery and kidnapping were a direct result of Arnold and his friends deciding to take matters into their own hands after Arnold's rental home was robbed twice. And while traveling in a car with Arnold back from Tallahassee, Hilton orchestrated the ambush, according to the order. And the order also alleges the text messages show that a couple of people, including Terrion Arnold's girlfriend, instructed another person to lure these two individuals back into through like romantic interest to her apartment to where they could then start the process of kidnapping and holding them hostage. So, a lot of
That's a doozy.
yeah, that's a nice light Friday start to your Friday morning reading all this. And I don't mean to put a comedic spin on it by any means because it's all very, very serious stuff, but it's heavy. There's a lot of details, but Bradford, as you mentioned, the fine print, the details, everything else, this is the important part because it's kind of leveling out and narrowing in how involved was Terrion Arnold, what this looks like, and what ultimately is going to be the repercussions and the consequences that he has to face. And I'm I have no experience with anything legal wise, like what this could, but I think the biggest takeaway is it's not good.
No, it's not good. It's definitely not a let's say a Hallmark script moment that you would and it's what are the True Lies detective stories is basically what channel this is being turned to, and getting down to the nuts and bolts of what actually happened, how everything transpired, and to what extent Terrion Arnold is involved in this process, and just the allegations that have come out. I mean, you're talking about a serious matter, and anytime you involve kidnapping and a robbery of a robbery, and the assault, these types of things, and just being accomplice to that crime, much less being a part of, is not good. And just from a Detroit Lions perspective, now your Brad Holmes, your Dan Campbell, Chris Spielman, Sheila Hamp. So you start thinking, okay, how is this going to affect us? How is this going to affect the team? How is this going to affect the business of the Detroit Lions? And I am talking to the extent of, is Terrion Arnold going to be able to play? If he does, we have to have a narrative for that. If he doesn't, we have to have a narrative for that. And then you have to think about, okay, salary cap implications, contract implications, which the conduct unbecoming, I would assume covers that in the player contract. And then how does it affect the secondary room? How does it affect the defense? And, in his limited play on special teams, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered, and you have to come up with contingency plans if he is not available to play. And, and if he's able to play, great. Is it full-time? Is it part-time because he has court dates? Do they try to push these court dates back so he can play? And then you go back to a quote that we're not able to cover yesterday from Calvin Shepard.
Yeah.
In the sense of, okay, now is the time. You're going into year 3. Now is the time to basically quit talking about it and show me. So if this is his way of showing, then I want to see a different type of tough guy mentality.
You're looking for high character guys in that room, and this isn't showing a good sign of it right now. And when you talk about that secondary room and already looking at a guy like Brian Branch, that's going to be out for a while, and Kirby Joseph, we don't know the timetable of that, but seeing the photo of his knee that he posted did not look great the other day. Like you don't want to put anyone at risk for reasons that you can control, and this is something you could control. And so no matter what happens, it's not a great look, and it puts the team in another position of, possibly trying to fill that role that he plays for maybe certain games. If he happens to, no matter what happens from this, there could be games that he has to sit out. We don't know what's going to happen down the road. But it's just, yeah, I thought of Calvin Shepard's point immediately to Bradford. I think it was something like he said, the guy just needs to be quiet and just play. Yeah. And this is the furthest example from being quiet. So.
Yeah, I mentioned on the show yesterday that I'm thankful for the opportunity to fill in for Matt Derry on the regular show yesterday and then later today. And yesterday, after we did our show, I did the regular Locked On Lions show and spent about 10 minutes on Calvin Shepard's comments and Terrion Arnold saying, hey, we just, this is year 2 into year 3. We just need to, like we said, don't talk about it, but be about it. And, I spent 5 minutes saying, I really believe this is Terrion Arnold's time. And I believe in the guy. And then you the way it works in this industry, you publish that. And then, excuse me, the headline comes out, 3 hours later. And I was like, no.
Everything you just stood for.
Right. But hey, let's keep the show rolling. We've got a big time guest coming up next. Rhett Lewis from NFL Network will join the show. We'll talk all things combine and get your thoughts as well. Thanks so much for making the Locked On Lions Squad show part of your day on a Friday. Rhett Lewis joins us next on the Locked On Lions Squad show. Getting right into it. Happy now to bring on Rhett Lewis to the Locked On Lions Squad show.
Thanks there so he is.
Part of your day. And Rhett, hey, we were giving Bradford all kinds of hard times. Like, hey, man, you're this former NFL guy. We need you to tap into that network, that Rolodex. And here he goes. He comes through. And
I don't know if I'd call this coming through, but I appreciate the
invite. Awesome. Well, hey, anytime we have a big time guest on, then we hear less Bradford stories, and we can actually talk ball and everything. Sometimes we call it the banter with Banta, just one story after another.
That's it.
But seriously, awesome to have you on the show, and appreciate you making some time, especially at a busy time for you during the combine, which was where we'll start. And probably feels good to be in Indianapolis, and hopefully, most importantly, you're staying awake, unlike Aaron Glenn, who had the unfortunate mishap fall to sleep.
Tough one. Banda knows what combine life is like, though, man. It's a grind.
Yeah, it is.
It's a grind. But that's a tough one. Yeah, the NFL Network cameras are always rolling, folks. You always got to be on
You're never safe.
Yeah, in fact, that was the one thing I was telling my fellow Hoosier Fernando Mendoza, as he was coming to Indianapolis, I was like, just remember, you're going to be the number one pick in this draft, and every single person is going to be watching every single thing you do at all times. And so, yeah, the cameras can catch you. But man, it's always great to be back in Indy. You know, I went to school, you know, just 45 miles south here. And it's great to have 9 Hoosiers at the combine, a program record. There it is. Yeah, man, it's the Champions Tour continues.
I love it, man. I appreciate you jumping on with us.
Sure.
And it is what is the, like, what's the one thing that stood out so far at the combine for you?
Well, I mean, it's you know, obviously getting outside of my Indiana fanship, but it's been the Ohio State Buckeyes. Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese, who have been dominant so far. Now, like, they're not the only ones. You know, I think there's some other guys in there, but they have. I mean, you want to talk about Sonny Styles is just a absolute, you know, freak, like the definition of it. Like, that's why we call people freaks, is because of Sonny with 4.46 vert and or 43 4.46 40 43.5 inch vert, the broad over 11. Like, just never seen that from a linebacker. It's over 240 pounds. Like, what are we talking about here? Arvell Reese, kind of the same way, you know, super fast 40. You know, obviously projecting more as an edge rusher, but I think there were some other guys in this group that showed up. Zane Durant was a favorite of mine at Penn State. You know, just, man, that dude from an interior defensive line perspective, you want to talk about penetrating upfield. Like, that dude is a absolute spark plug out of the stance, and he showed that running the 4.7 40. DeMonte Capehart, I thought, from Clemson, for a big, tall guy, had a really good day, kind of bending and showcasing some of the you know, some of the skills he had in the drills. Kyle Lewis from Pitt, big time linebacker that's got some great instincts, smaller guy, right? And that's been part of the headline, but I didn't see him play. He played big when we saw him at the Senior Bowl, making almost every play during the practice week. So bunch of guys here, and looking forward to the next group tonight with the DBs and tight ends.
I tell you, no, please go, Nat. Go,
Are
Nat.
you sure? Okay.
Yeah, I'm positive.
I was going to say, you know, when you talk to people about Detroit and what they need to prioritize at this upcoming draft right now at pick 17, what's the word? Like, what is your take on it? What are you hearing maybe at the combine about what Detroit needs to tackle, quite literally?
I mean, can we just get back to can we go back to the Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs draft and just kind of redo that thing? That ended up working out pretty well. You know, and go get Sam Laporta and Brian Branch and all those guys that are going to be up for extensions here this offseason. I mean, like, I just think that they've had a great formula is kind of what I'm getting at here, in finding really good football players. And I mean, like, you kind of go down the line, you know, on offense. And I mean, you're talking about guys that are homegrown players that are going to be starting again. And, you know, like the Isaac Teslas of the world, and, you know, Tate Ratledge, you know, coming in as a rookie last year. And, you know, obviously the high level players like Penny and Amon-Ra St. Brown and J-Mo and that group. So, I mean, I just think that using their formula to evaluate players, to stack them on the board, and then to understand how they're going to come off and where to go find them. I just think that they've nailed it. So, like, I don't know that there is, you know, to me, you know, a glaring need. I think, you know, anytime you've got an elite player like Aiden Hutchinson, you're always trying to find those guys that can complement them. So I think continuing to go that route is never a bad deal. So I think on the defensive side, you could always look. That's what this draft really is to me. You know, on the defensive side, this is a deep edge rusher group, and I think you could find some certainly there at 17 or even beyond as you get into day 2 and 3.
No, for sure. You got one, BB?
Nope. Get after it, pal.
All right. Because
we'll go round table here.
There we go. Yeah, you know, we all want to fight over that airtime for ask Rhett a question. But I was kind of just playing it in my head. You know, first round picks is what the talking heads and what we're going to discuss most. That's kind of more of the exciting prospects, if you will, the freaks that you're talking about and whatnot. But based on, for the Lions, just some recent developments with Terrion Arnold, now all of a sudden you're looking at a secondary that is banged up with Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph and the uncertainty of Terrion Arnold. how much can that shift a team's just overall strategy? And now all of a sudden you're looking at different positions of needs versus the classic best available value. And again, the talking heads that love to, discuss what's going to make the biggest impact.
I mean, Banta knows, like, nobody's ever going to say that a player wasn't the best available on the board. So even if it does end up being, Colton Hood or Avion Terrell at 17 as a corner, it's like, well, it just so happens he was the best guy on the board. And look at that. It fit a need too. Yeah. Look, I think there's, if everyone's being honest with it, like, I think you find a way for the needs and the best players available to kind of hit the intersection, and I think, honestly, I think the corners, that like 12 to 20 range is a pretty sweet spot for some of those guys. I mean, Mansour Delane, it'll be gone there. Jermon McCoy, coming off the injury, I think is another one that's probably in that like 10 to 14 range. And then you're talking about, his teammate Colton Hood from Tennessee. We saw at the Senior Bowl, played well during the practice week. Avion Terrell, AJ Terrell's brother, Clemson. I was talking to Clemson defense coordinator Tom Allen about him, and just kind of raved about the player that he is. And then obviously his speed demon and Brandon Cisse from South Carolina. So I think, I think you're going to be into that range where there could be guys available. I don't know if they're, if you're talking about stacking them up that way, just in terms, regardless of position, do they fit at like the 15th, 16th, 17th overall players in this draft? I don't know if that's the case. But it doesn't mean that you have to go get it right there in the first round. So I think there's a bunch of ways to go out and fill those quote unquote needs. That's what free agency's for. And then you kind of build the foundation of your team through the draft.
Well, I tell you what, you have been using your Indiana Rolodex and talking to people and just name dropping.
Yeah.
Tom Allen.
Yeah.
Just anybody and everybody. I tell you what,
we're everywhere now.
I mean, you have learned so much from your dad. It is amazing just how you just work in the room. I love it. I do love it. So, but here's a question for you. So, we've seen Laporta's name come up, and trade chatter and as a possible candidate to get traded and all that kind of stuff. Like, in your experience, how much do you think is real? How much, versus just off-season content?
Yeah, I think when you look at the, the fact that group, that elite draft that they had in that year, and those guys are kind of coming up as potential extension guys moving forward, you start to look at it and you're like, dang, I mean, like, all of them could warrant, top dollar at their position. And it's like, all right, can you afford all that? And like, well, guys, we get pretty dang creative with the ways in which you can afford things. And it's a good problem to have, because it means you've been drafting really well. And obviously they did, just talking about that group in particular. But with Laporta, like, coming off the back injury, obviously that's a tough spot to be in. And I would say, if you're looking at him as like the odd man out as a potential extension, I think that's where the trade comes in, right? Because you're going to want to get something for it. But man, I don't know. Like, I'd want to see it again this year, coming off the back injury, and then we'll talk about it. Maybe we go, maybe it's a franchise tag situation coming off the rookie deal, the 4-year deal as a second rounder. But I don't know. I don't know that I'm ready to cut bait on a guy who fits perfectly into this offense. Look what Drew Petzing did with Trey McBride over the last couple of years. Like, I'm excited about having Sam Laporta as a Detroit Lion if I'm in that building. So I don't necessarily get that. I just kind of think it comes from the logistics of contracts and extensions coming up. But one, I want to see what he looks like post back injury before, we decide long term. And two, I just think he's a damn good player and feels like he's a really good scheme fit now.
Yeah.
When you cover the combine every year, how many years are we talking now?
Well, my first was when my dad was with Washington at the time, and I was in school back in, it was like 2002, and I came up and got indoctrinated into the, or sabotaged.
The nightlife,
I should say, into the world of the St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail.
Remind me about that. I got a good story. Yeah. This is after Rhett gets done.
Yes, anyway. Let's go. Banter with Banta.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I've been coming, yes, since that was my first one, 02. So I've been coming almost every year since then.
Wow. So for you personally, when you get to the combine, what is the first thing that you're looking for? Does the speed check out, the explosiveness, or are you focused on interviews? Like, what is your main priority at the start?
Well, I do think it's a great place to gather intel, and to kind of, walk around, and that's kind of what I do. Like, once we get done with our pregame stuff for NFL Network, and the drills kind of get started, just kind of start circling the concourse, like walking up and down the rows of seats in the first level of the stadium where all the scouts and everybody's sitting. And like the best thing about this to me is like reconnecting with folks that you haven't seen, in a while, and kind of, getting their thoughts on what we've seen so far, what we're about to see. So like the intel for me is like the first thing, right, that comes up, and you hear a lot about, the interviews and the medical stuff. And then, I mean, like everyone, the 40 is like the entertainment piece of it. But I think you can look a little bit deeper into those numbers, and you look into the 10-yard splits, especially for the big guys, like those edge rushers. There's a direct correlation to pressure and sack production with get off and with 10-yard splits. And so I think finding those guys that can really move, in that start is really important. And then, I think like some of the measurable stuff can get, like Eric Gentry is a linebacker out of BB's alma mater there at SC. He is like 86-inch wingspan. I know he's only like 215 pounds, but like that's like some of those stuff, like it makes your eyes go like, whoa, that's huge. So I think there are little things kind of littered in throughout it. But I think you can find value in a lot of different places now. But that's a good question.
I love it. And I want to tie together the Bradford St. Elmo story, because that's the important stuff, the measurables and everything. I want to know how do you measure the spiciness level of the cocktail sauce? And then BB, we got to hear it.
we got to hear it.
We got to hear it. Okay. So, Amy and I started dating whenever I was playing for Indianapolis. Our first date, I take it to St. Elmo's. And it was one of these dates where, you go appetizers here, dinner there, dessert there, all that kind of stuff. And so she was living out of state at the time. It was actually the first time we ever met face to face. And so she came in, and so I take her over to St. Elmo's, and I did not tell her about the cocktail sauce, but I had a good idea about her personality.
Yeah.
And she took a bite of the shrimp with the cocktail sauce on it. And then I just wanted to see her reaction. So I'm just sitting there just
oh no,
deadpan.
Sabotage.
And she looked at me and she gave me you are such an a-hole.
Yes.
So
yes.
but you can't beat St. Elmo's. Good steak, good shrimp cocktail. I mean, just good time to be had by all.
And that's it. It is a big conversation place, like walking around. You walk through the bar, you see a couple of guys go to the table, you see, it's like all these places in downtown Indy. It's a place where contracts get done. It's a place where trades get talked about. So
that's real. That was going to be on, like, you always hear about we drew it up on a napkin in the corner of St. Elmo.
Yeah. I'm sure some of that's exaggerated, but like I would imagine that some of those initial conversations, really do happen. I mean, like, go back to, when the Titans and the Rams traded for that number one pick, in which they ultimately ended up taking Jared Goff. Like, their suites where all the teams end up watching the drills were right next to each other. And that was part of, like, and Les and J-Rob made talked about that. Like, oh yeah, we just kind of walked next door and we saw each other, started talking, like, hey, what would it take? What would you think? And then, the rest obviously went from there, and they ended up making that deal. So yeah, man, it stuff does happen here because it's the first big event since the Super Bowl. Season's over. New league year starts in 2 weeks or a little bit less. And so like it's this now is when this stuff kind of starts coming to the forefront.
Yeah, the NFL goes a week or two without being the main story in sports, and all hell breaks loose, and you got to make up for lost time. But no, Rhett, this has been awesome, man. We also appreciate it, and especially for Bradford Banta finally pulling his weight and getting big time guests on. But we'll get you out the door on this. What's the rest of the weekend look like for you?
Yeah, so just it's funny, like you're here for 4 days and then the combine actually starts. And you're like, geez, been here for a while already.
Isn't it amazing? That is amazing to me. I know. I never get it because the special teams always go in early.
That's right.
You almost have like a lag day.
Yeah.
That you just sit around and you're like, okay, what do we do?
Right. Yeah. Right. So I mean, like, so today's your day, Mr. Tight End. Like, we got the tight ends and the DBs going tonight, which we're going to preview at 2:00 Eastern time on NFL Network, and then watch those guys go through, and then I'll kind of be doing that 2 hours before or an hour before each day kind of get started, and then Saturday is always kind of viewed as the main event, right? Quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, the offensive skill guys, the quarterbacks throwing, it routes on air, but it's still pretty entertaining. And that's something we always look forward to. And then the big guys close it down on Sunday with the offensive linemen. That's when you got to be on alert for the camera catching you sleeping. Like, that's when you really got to watch out on Sunday, right? Because it's been like you've been here for 7 days already. You're like, when's my flight?
I would have expected more of that on Sunday, not so early during the week.
Not so early. Right. So, and look, if you're not here Monday to Monday, you're not really here. And so for all of us here who grind it out for a full 7 days, we live for this. So
welcome to the special teams life, pal.
Yeah, that's it. I appreciate you guys for having me on, man. Great to chat with you guys.
Awesome stuff. Rhett Lewis, NFL Network. We so appreciate it. All the best. And enjoy some St. Elmo shrimp and some of that hot cocktail sauce and everything else. So, man, what a gift by you, Bradford Banta. Awesome stuff there.
Every now and then, I'll try to pull a rabbit out of the hat. So, it just depends on how big that rabbit is. Today, it's a pretty big rabbit. So we're doing okay.
For sure. Big time get. We'll break it all down and keep the show rolling. And first, keep the lights on, though, right here on a live Locked On Lions Squad Show. Today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. You use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you're automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. And if you're already looking at the board, here's a hint. How about those Detroit Pistons? Yeah, put a future on them. Which team could make a deep run? It's the perfect time to lock it in. And now, not only can you pick cash, but you could also be sent to the NBA Finals, trip for two, flights, tickets, the whole experience. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back with you on a live Locked On Lions Squad Show. Rhett Lewis, NFL Network, big time guest. Thanks, Bradford Banta. Great insight. And we also learned that Bradford tried to pull a fast one on Amy. First date, man. First date, just going with the hot shrimp cocktail sauce. What's up with that?
No, you got to know what you're getting into, man. I mean, can she put up with the heat? So that's what I just wanted to know right from the get-go.
Hey. Get out the kitchen. Can't be with BB. You guys, you want to know what's crazy? I've never been to St. Elmo's.
What?
I know. So when you're talking about the cocktail sauce, I'm like, I have no idea what I'd be getting myself into.
Oh, no, I've never been either. I just know the legends and the stories. Yeah, I aspire to at some point. I don't know if I've ever I've been to Indianapolis for my fair share of Division II football games, Northwood versus the University of Indianapolis, a rivalry as old as time, but I don't know
Y'all
if
didn't have you didn't have pregame from St. Elmo's?
No.
we're lucky.
No, we were lucky if we found a Golden Corral, all you can eat buffet on that D2 budget, let's see. I went to Lucas Oil for when Northwestern was in the Big Ten championship against Ohio State in 2018, but I did not make it to St. Elmo's. So balling on a different budget now that we've got the lockdown paychecks coming every month. So I can venture out to St. Elmo's next time I'm there.
Special years because you're doing like 10 shows a day. I mean, what I gather.
Just working like a dog, guys.
I know. I mean, you're going to be W-2'd here pretty soon. So
coming for one of those full-time jobs with all the benefits that come with a full-time lockdown gig.
Crazy.
I'm kidding.
Looks like Jake and I, though, we're putting this on our list because I obviously need to see for myself how spicy this sauce is, but I'm a wuss about sauce, so.
Oh, nah. See, I
don't know if this is a good thing. So you honestly, I need to be with someone that would like pull a Bradford and just not tell me, and then at least I can say I tried.
Well, let's
go.
If
I start crying. Okay,
let's go. Yeah, because here's the deal. So Nat, Jake, let's see, trip down to Indianapolis. We'll go. Yeah. We'll head down to St. Elmo's, and then we'll go over to Slippery Noodle, get a little music in. Post St. Elmo's.
I've heard of that.
Oh man, dude, yeah, that's part of Indianapolis lore. Indianapolis lore, and then from there, we can make it a road trip, or we can jump over to the airport and head down to New Orleans for a little bit, and then we'll, if you want it to be during Mardi Gras time, that's fine. I suggest you get eased into it a little bit instead of just getting thrown into the fire. Let's go non-Mardi Gras time, and then the second time we go back, then it'll be Mardi Gras.
We got to work up to it, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
You got to experience Bourbon Street just on the weekend, regular weekend, type of stuff. Okay.
So it wouldn't be a good idea to do a live episode from Bourbon Street?
No. It would. Well, we got to do a little pre-planning. So you got to go scout the areas. So where we want to broadcast from during Mardi Gras. So
one of the upper balconies.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put together a proposal and see what Sam and the rest of the bosses have to say for our Lockdown Lions squad show on the road, and just see what kind of budget we can get. And I'm very optimistic that we can make this happen. But that being said, Detroit Lions, this has been out there for a while. We've been trying to get to it, and too much news. Too much has happened. But playing in Germany, it's going to be an international game, and get your passports ready. But pretty neat to see the Lions at the the global stage and playing an international game. I think it's the first. Didn't they play the Chiefs maybe a long time ago?
In Wembley.
I was in college. I think it was 2014, 15.
It's a while ago.
2015. That rings a bell. 2015 rings a bell.
Senior year of college.
Yeah. So those, those. It depends on when you go.
Yeah.
Just from my personal experience, because I've done both. I've actually played over in London, not played, but coached over in London a couple times, and then actually played down in Mexico City whenever I was with the Colts. And two totally different experiences, just from a social aspect. As a player going down to Mexico City, they gave you all the warnings. Don't drink the water, don't do this, don't bring anything expensive, just bring what you need. And we basically treated it like a normal road trip, because I want to say that Mexico City is either on Central or Mountain Time. I am not sure about that. And so we went down, we had an event to go to 2 nights before the game. So we went to the event, and you had a case of water in your room. just anything you do, brushing your teeth, this, that, and the other, just use the bottled water. And we go down, we play the game. And what was very interesting about that game in Mexico was, you don't realize it at the time because we were playing the Steelers. So it was a total Steelers crowd, because back in the 70s, the Steelers and the Cowboys were the first team to radio broadcast in Mexico. So that's how they developed their fan base down there. So instead of seeing current player jerseys, I mean, we were seeing, Lynn Swann, Franco Harris, Terry Bradshaw jerseys. I mean, these jerseys had to, the jerseys were probably 20 years old, but they surfaced. And then what I was talking about, just experience-wise, we played one time over in London. We played at Wembley, and we treated it like a just get in, get out type situation. And so we ended up flying overnight, and we stayed, I think it was Friday. Yeah, we left Friday after practice. We flew Friday night. We got off the plane. We practiced, and then we had meetings. We woke up the next day, and then we played. That was whenever I was with the Redskins, now Commanders. But whenever I was with the Saints, we actually arranged it with the NFL, and we played the Panthers in Carolina, and then from there we flew over to England, and we stayed there for the week. Now, they had us staying out in the middle of nowhere, so guys couldn't go out and about. But it's just a cool experience, because after you get done playing, unless you research it ahead of time, you don't realize the history that has taken place in Wembley Stadium, and being a part of that. And it's funny because they feed you post game, but you go into this cafeteria, and they have all these pictures up on the wall of the history that has taken place in Wembley Stadium.
That's cool.
And you're just
That's
like,
amazing.
yeah. And it's like, you know what? We just were part of history.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was cool. So, but getting back to Germany, this is going to be another avenue or another country that, for lack of a better term, the NFL is going to try to infiltrate, which they already have with NFL Europe, but they're starting to reestablish those roots moving forward.
I just love that they're continuing to grow the game. I think it's so cool when a team gets an opportunity to go play overseas. And this one specifically is perfect for the Lions because of Amon-Ra St. Brown. He'll be like the team's tour guide, which I think is awesome. Like he'll know some of the spots to go. He might make some suggestions for, the team's travel coordinator or however they do it. I think it's cool to have someone. I mean, I'm sure that's why they are having the Lions play in Munich, because it is a perfect setup. But I think that's awesome. Like I just love when you can get more of the fan base on your side, just like in Mexico, they became a bunch of Steelers fans for a reason. And hopefully there'll be even more, German fans, international fans that hop on the Lions bandwagon after this. So I'm excited. And this is just yet another thing we can ask Jake. We can take the show on the road, quite literally, to Germany. I think it's great. So, Sam, if you're listening,
that's right.
I mean, I think we got something good planned going here.
Collectively, we are an ideas podcast. We come up with some really good ideas. The execution part of it, that's up to the powers that be. So, but the ideas are absolutely there. But all right, one more segment. Let's do the team report card, because I find this stuff fascinating. And Bradford, you're going to have more insight than anybody on this, and just what goes into all of it. And the Lions grade out pretty well, but we'll discuss that next on the Locked On Lions Squad show. Today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. All right, folks, the board is set. The flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5 Hour Energy Draft. Drum roll, please. It's Confetti Craze. They want me to describe the flavor. Okay, so it is delicious. It's a birthday cake in your mouth. There's not a lot of sugar. It's delicious. What do I like about it? It's delicious. It gives me the energy boost that I need, and I feel amazing. And I need to mention what's an underrated flavor that might be a sleeper on my board. Well, cotton candy for sure. I mean, it's not every day you get the opportunity to see cotton candy in a late round flavor draft pick. So there's a lot of value there. Make sure you go ahead and grab it there. 5 Hour Energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar. 5 Hour Energy has a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned. You know, you never know what you might see. And if you can find your new flavor online, how about you go to 5hourenergy.com or Amazon? You can also order there. Find your new favorite flavor. 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Maybe a delicious swirl of sugarless clouds, fruity twist, and a hint of vanilla. That's the cotton candy flavor for you. So make sure you check out 5hourenergy.com. You can order there or on Amazon. It's the flavor draft. I was wondering who's going to be the first person to laugh at me.
I wait for Bradford.
No, you were
but
the first.
I know, but I couldn't help it. Well, no, I saw his face and he's like,
yeah.
You know what we ought to do? Nat, you and I need to do this. So while he's reading, we need to take a sip of water.
Okay.
And hold it in your mouth. And then whenever whenever we all three comes, whenever he comes back on, see if you can't hold it in your mouth, or is it you're going to spit it out? It's like a social media experiment.
Like it's just a bit each time. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
All over the laptop or the iPad or whatever it may be, and after that, then we're calling the IT team. Do we really need that? No, we come on.
Jake's trying to think of anything to avoid us laughing at him at this point.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But team report card,
you still will.
Yeah, I know you will. And then the transitions and segues and everything else gets so much more difficult. But here we go. Team report card time. The Detroit Lions. I'm just going to go through every single one of these, and then we can, or you know what? Why don't we just pick some of the good ones? Team ownership, an A. That's important. Treatment of families, B+. Home game field, B-. Food and dining area, B. Nutritionist and dietitian, A-. Locker room, A. Training room, A-. Training staff, B+. Weight room, A. Strength coaches, A. Position coaches, A-. Defensive coordinator, B. Special teams coordinator, A. And here it is, the only non-A or B offensive coordinator, C-. Dun, dun, dun. I think we all kind of expected this, though.
Yeah. I mean, they've already, you can delete that grade. Now it's N/A, applicable.
Good point.
So, that's just, the change needed to be made, and Dan made the change. So
I'm fascinated. By like you said, I think it's water under the bridge at this point, and no need to spend a lot of time on it, because I'm fascinated by the facility stuff, because I think, at least in my tiny little brain, there's no reason why an NFL team of the most powerful, prominent league in the history of the world, and the revenue boom and everything that we talked to Rhett Lewis about, like the NFL owns the calendar, the NFL, it's the NFL. Like, how could you not have the most world-class facilities and invest in that infrastructure for your guys? And obviously the Lions have, but there's other teams that get like failing grades for team facilities and things like that.
You still have to remember it's a business, and it all depends on how ownership wants to allocate funds. I can guarantee you this, that if you were to go into some of these Power 4 conference team facilities, individual facilities, they will blow any NFL team facility out of the water with the amount of stuff that is available. Like I would walk out onto the field whenever I was at University of Michigan, and you had all the toys, all the bells and whistles, anything that you could possibly want or need to make a player better. That was one thing that, I mean, the Lions facility, I've been in it a couple of times since they've upgraded it. Whenever they first built it back in, was it 2002, whenever we first occupied it, it was a good facility. It was what you needed, and it was up to date at that time. Now, as the years go by, these updates need to happen in the facility to keep up with essentially recruiting and free agency, but you have to stay on top of technology and teaching tools. And every facility has the basics. And getting back to your question, talking about with the amount of money that's influxed into the NFL that goes to each individual club, it's some of them, this is their only source of income. Now, is that income pretty doggone good? Yeah, it is really, really good. But they choose to allocate their funds in other ways. And and that's where players have a chance to voice their opinion, is through these report cards. And, we can just talking about, just start going down the line, just talking about treatment of families. And that comes from the top down, and that comes from ownership. And it starts with game day experience. And I can honestly say I've had nothing but glowing reports to say about the Detroit Lions, because my kids were born basically whenever Morgan was born, whenever I was playing. And then, my other two came shortly thereafter, but they were there while I was coaching with the Detroit Lions. And, the in-game experience where they have childcare. So, my wife could have gone and watched the game and not have to had worried about what's going to happen with your child.
Yeah, that's cool.
During the game.
Mm-hmm.
And those kids, they keep them occupied. They play with them. They bring in vetted professional help to handle the, quote unquote, the daycare during the game. And then we used to do some fun stuff and talk about during Halloween time. And, Jim Swartz put it best, because we had every kid. Well, we had every family, every employee's family around Halloween. They would come in and they would trick or treat around the field. And it would be, it would be a post-practice deal. And all the rookies were in charge of getting the candy that we were going to be handing out. And Jim put it best. And it makes me kind of laugh. He goes, whenever you're trick or treating growing up, and you know what neighborhoods to go to get the good candy, instead of getting just the trial size, Snickers bar or whatever. He goes, guys, we're going to spend money on this Halloween. Rookies, you're going to be spending money on this Halloween. And I want each one of these kids to feel like they're in the richest neighborhood that you could possibly come through. And we would have guys about every 10 yards that would line their way around the field. And these kids would come up in their Halloween costumes, and you're just handing them, like full bags of, full bags of M&Ms, a full size candy bar, just different stuff like that. Yeah. And then, the guys would go and play with them in the middle of the field, and the thing that I love doing is because, with football, you always have pads, right? And then whenever you get kids out, so you have a big mattress pad, you have the blocking dummies, you have the agiles, you have this, that, and the other, so you build these forts, and then you have the kids, okay, let's go score a touchdown. You have them jump through the agile pads or the wall of pads that you built up. And it's just talking about treatment of families. And I thought that the Fords and the Lions had always done an excellent job of it. And getting down, I have to give a shout out talking about strength coaches in the weight room, both getting A's. And a very good friend of mine, Mike Clark, was the now former head of strength and nutrition for the Detroit Lions. And I've known Mike since 1989. He was my first strength coach out at USC. That's whenever we initially met. And then he was there for a year or two, and then he left to go out he got a job with Texas A&M. And that's where he and Dan Campbell crossed paths. And whenever Dan was a player for Texas A&M.
Right.
And, it's funny. And then Mike and I ended up working together again whenever I was with the Washington Redskins. He came in as the strength, head of strength and conditioning for the Washington Redskins. And then, because he spent a long time with Kansas City and then a long time with Seattle. I mean, he's been in the game for a while and very well versed in his profession and has done an excellent job. And it was nice because I got to speak with him a couple weeks ago. Went and saw him during the season and then got to speak with him a couple weeks ago. And he's going to be missed within that organization. But he's a dear friend. Always enjoy the conversations that I have with him. He's very thoughtful in the responses to the questions that I have, and gives very good answers and he's direct and to the point. So just a shout out to the strength coaches and the weight room.
Maybe
there.
Maybe we get him on the show at some point.
Hey, that may be.
Yeah,
fun.
Yeah.
Share a little bit of insight.
Yeah, we'll see how tech savvy he is. So just whenever it comes to the computer, but I may give a little shout out and see if he has any interest in it.
Good deal.
So right now it'll have to be a little bit. Let's give it a little bit of time
for sure,
and then we'll hit it later.
I love it. I love it. Hey, this has been an awesome episode. Just flew by. I can't believe it. And I know, Nat, you got a busy Friday night, a little Pistons Cavs action.
I do. Friday night matchup.
Let's go. And then the team's on the road for a while. So does that mean you're on the road? I think they're on the road. Orlando, right?
Yes, it does mean I'm on the road. So there may be a little schedule switcheroo next week. Shocker.
You beat me to it.
I think if I have it right in my head, and so Tuesday, Thursday will be a no-go next week. But if you guys are good with Monday, Wednesday,
I'll have my secretary reach back
Perfect.
out, and my people will talk to yours, and we'll see if we can.
My people, okay, your people, all that.
We know we don't go directly to Natalie Kerwin. We got to talk. We got to, check in with.
No, we're not. We're not starting with this today, guys. But yes, Monday, Wednesday should be good next week. And we'll be in Orlando first, then Cleveland, and then San Antonio.
Oh, welcome to Texas. Good stuff.
I know. I haven't been to San Antonio is one of the few arenas I haven't been to yet. So nice. I'll get to check that off the list. I haven't been to the city either. So
I'm
cool. Excited. Yeah.
The Riverwalk and everything. And as Charles Barkley always reminds everybody, the big ladies, watch out for them too. He said it, not me.
It's the perfect way to end this show.
Yes. All right. For the 20-year NFL veteran Bradford Banta, Natalie Kerwin. My name is Jake Riepma. Big thanks to Rhett Lewis for hopping on the show. If you miss anything, audio only version will be available. Make sure you like today's video, subscribe. I'll be on Locked On Lions later today. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you next time. See you. Goodbye.